The rain came down like bullets, violent and unforgiving against the windshield of Sebastian Montenegro's midnight blue Aston Martin. Thunder cracked across the Seattle sky, splitting the darkness with veins of white light. His hands gripped the steering wheel so tight his knuckles turned bone white. 34 years old, $12 billion in the bank, and none of it meant anything when investors treated innovation like a disposable commodity. The engine coughed once, twice, then died. Sebastian coasted to the curb, rain hammering his car like nature itself wanted him to pay attention. Through the storm's fury, a warm glow caught his eye. A small storefront across the street. Gold lettering on the window, Harper's Haven Books. He ran. No umbrella, no plan. His $3,000 suit soaked through in seconds. The brass bell above the door sang soft and clear as he burst inside. Warmth hit him first. Then the smell of aged paper, leather, and wood smoke from a crackling fireplace. Towering shelves climbed toward tin ceilings. Cozy reading nooks tucked into every corner. This wasn't a store. It was a sanctuary. "Oh my God, you're drenched!" Sebastian turned toward the voice. She stood behind a massive oak desk, arms full of leather-bound books. Auburn hair caught the firelight like autumn leaves burning. Green eyes held galaxies he wanted to explore. She wore a cream sweater and dark jeans, a delicate silver locket at her throat. When she smiled, something in Sebastian's chest cracked open. "Let me get you a towel," she said, setting down her books. "And tea. You look like you've been losing a fight with the universe." He watched her disappear into a small alcove. This place was curated with love. First editions beside dog-eared paperbacks. Handwritten recommendation cards tucked between spines. Every detail spoke of someone who valued stories over profit. She returned with a thick towel and steaming mug, moving like water, unhurried and graceful. "I'm Celeste Harper," she said, offering both. "And you look like someone who needs rescuing from more than just rain." Sebastian. He accepted the towel, the tea. Earl Grey with honey. Perfect. "This place is incredible. How long have you owned it?" Celeste laughed, and the sound made him forget about his stalled car and ruined meeting. "I don't own it. My grandmother did. I just run it while finishing my literature degree." She gestured around the store with obvious affection. Every book here was chosen with love. Grandma always said books find their people, not the other way around. They talked. About literature, about passion, about dreams that felt too big to speak aloud. Celeste climbed a rolling ladder to reach a high shelf, pulled down a slim volume of poetry. "Have you read Neruda?" She handed it to him. His words about love could make stone hearts weep. Their fingers touched during the exchange. Electricity shot through Sebastian's entire body. From the way Celeste's breath caught, she felt it too. They sat by the fire while the storm raged. Celeste spoke about women writers of the 19th century, her thesis, her plans to teach. Sebastian found himself sharing things he never told anyone. His loneliness despite success, his fear that he'd lost himself between boardrooms and bank accounts. "You have sad eyes," Celeste observed softly. "Like someone carrying weight that isn't entirely his to bear." The observation gutted him. In his world, people saw what he wanted them to see. But this woman looked past every wall he'd built. "Maybe I have been," he admitted. Celeste reached out, touched his hand where it rested on the chair arm. Light as butterfly wings, burning like a brand. Sometimes the heaviest burdens are the ones we place on ourselves. Sebastian looked at this 22-year-old woman who possessed wisdom his 34 years had failed to teach him. Her world was small but rich. Beautiful and meaningful rather than profitable and powerful. "I should probably call for a car," he said, though every instinct screamed at him to stay forever. "The storm's still fierce," Celeste said, glancing toward rain-lashed windows. "Your phone might not have service. Besides," she added with a shy smile, "I was about to make dinner. Nothing fancy, just pasta and bread from the local bakery. You're welcome to stay until the weather clears." Sebastian knew he should leave. Everything about Celeste Harper was dangerous to his carefully ordered existence. She represented everything he'd convinced himself he couldn't have. Simplicity, authenticity, love without agenda. But as he looked at her face, illuminated by firelight and unmarked by cynicism, Sebastian made a decision that would change both their lives. "I'd like that very much." He moved closer. Words came from some deep, unguarded part of his soul. "Celeste, I need you to know something. I come from a world very different from this." He gestured around the bookstore. A world that can be cruel and calculating. But whatever happens between us, whatever develops from this moment, I promise you this. I will never let that world hurt you. I'll never let anyone, including myself, damage the beautiful spirit you have. Celeste's eyes widened. She could sense undercurrents she didn't understand. Depths that both thrilled and frightened her. "Sebastian," she whispered, "what world do you come from that requires such promises?" Instead of answering, Sebastian reached out, cupped her face in his hands. She leaned into his touch with complete trust. "One that doesn't deserve someone like you," he said, and kissed her forehead gently, sealing his vow like a prayer. Thunder crashed overhead. Rain continued its assault. Neither of them could know his promise would become the greatest test their love would ever face. The phone in Sebastian's jacket buzzed. Once, twice, 3 times. Celeste pulled back slightly. "You should answer that. It might be important." Sebastian's blood turned to ice when he saw the caller ID. Marcus Blackwood, his business partner, the man who knew every secret Sebastian had buried. "Montenegro," he answered, his voice suddenly sharp. "We have a problem." Marcus's voice crackled through static. "Elena Rodriguez found the files. She's threatening to go public unless you meet her demands tonight." Sebastian's face went ashen. Elena, his former fiancée, the woman who knew about the Montenegro family's dark legacy, the blood money that built his empire, the lives destroyed in the name of progress. "I'll handle it," Sebastian said quietly, never leaving Celeste's concerned face. "You'd better. Because if she talks, it won't just be your reputation that burns. Everyone you care about becomes a target." The line went dead. Sebastian stared at the phone, feeling his past crash down around this perfect moment. "Sebastian." Celeste's voice was gentle, worried. "What's wrong? You look like you've seen a ghost." "I have to go." The words tasted like ash. Sebastian stood abruptly, phone clutched in his white-knuckled grip. The warmth that had enveloped him moments before now felt like a cruel joke. Celeste rose from her chair, confusion and hurt flickering across her features. "Sebastian, wait. What just happened? Who was that?" "Someone from my past." He couldn't meet her eyes. "Someone who reminds me why I can't have this. Why I can't have you." Celeste stepped closer, her hand reaching for his arm. "Whatever it is, we can figure it out together." Sebastian pulled away as if her touch burned. "You don't understand. You live in a world of poetry and beautiful words where people are basically good and love conquers all. My world doesn't work that way." "Then tell me how it works." Her voice was steady, but he could see the tremor in her hands. "Trust me enough to let me decide for myself." For a moment, Sebastian wavered. The fire crackled behind them. Outside, the storm showed no signs of stopping. This sanctuary she'd created felt like the only real thing in his life, and he was about to walk away from it. "My father didn't build Montenegro dynamics through innovation alone," he began, voice rough. "He crushed competitors, destroyed families who stood in his way, used every dirty trick in the book to secure patents and contracts. I inherited an empire built on other people's ruin." Celeste's face remained calm, processing. "You're not your father." "Aren't I?" Sebastian's laugh was bitter. "I've made the same choices, signed the same deals, played the same games, and now someone from that world is threatening to expose everything unless I meet her demands." "Her?" "Elena Rodriguez, my former fiancée." The words came out like broken glass. "She knows things that could destroy me, and worse, destroy anyone connected to me." Understanding dawned in Celeste's eyes. "You're protecting me by leaving." "I'm being realistic." Sebastian grabbed his jacket from where it hung by the fire. Still damp, but he didn't care. "Whatever this is between us, it ends now. Before you get hurt." "Don't I get a say in that?" The question stopped him at the door. Rain hammered against the windows. Thunder rolled like drums of war. "No," Sebastian said quietly. "Because you'd make the wrong choice. You'd choose to stay, to fight, to believe love is enough. And I can't watch what my world does to people like you. Good people, pure people." "I'm not some fragile thing that needs protecting," Celeste said, anger creeping into her voice. "I'm stronger than you think. I know you are." Sebastian's hand was on the doorknob now. "That's what terrifies me. You'd stand beside me through the fire and I'd have to watch you burn." He opened the door. Rain and wind rushed in, cold and violent. "Sebastian," Celeste's voice cut through the storm. "If you walk out that door, you're not protecting me. You're running from something real because you're afraid." The accusation hit like a physical blow. Sebastian turned back one last time. She stood there in the firelight, chin raised, eyes bright with unshed tears but defiant. "You're right," he said softly. "I'm afraid. Afraid of what loving you could cost. Afraid of watching you realize what kind of man I really am. Afraid that I'll destroy the best thing that's ever happened to me." "Then stay," Celeste whispered. "Stay and let me decide what risks I'm willing to take." For 3 heartbeats, Sebastian stood in the doorway. Rain soaking his back, warmth at his face, past and future pulling him in opposite directions. Then he stepped out into the storm and closed the door behind him. The Aston Martin started on the first try. Of course it did. The universe had a sick sense of humor. Sebastian drove through flooded streets toward the address Marcus had sent. An upscale hotel downtown, penthouse suite, where Elena waited with her evidence and her demands. He should be thinking about damage control, legal strategies, what he was willing to sacrifice to keep his secrets buried. Instead, all he could think about was Celeste's face, the hurt in her eyes, the way she'd stood there offering him everything, and he'd walked away. His phone buzzed. A text from Marcus. "She's getting impatient. Better hurry." Another text came through. "Unknown number." Sebastian almost ignored it. But something made him open it. A single photo. Celeste's bookstore, taken from across the street. Tonight. During the storm. Below the image. Beautiful place. Would be a shame if something happened to it. Or to her. "Meet Elena's demands, or I start with what you care about most." Sebastian's vision went red. His hands shook so violently he had to pull over. Marcus. It had to be Marcus. He was the only one who knew Sebastian had been at the bookstore. But why? They'd been partners for 8 years. Built the company together from nothing. Unless Marcus had his own reasons for wanting Sebastian destroyed. Another text. "Don't even think about going to the police. I have copies of everything. One wrong move and it all goes public. The Montenegro legacy. The offshore accounts. The people your father paid to disappear. All of it." Sebastian stared at the photo of Harper's haven, at the warm glow in the windows, at the sanctuary where, for a few perfect hours, he'd felt human again. They were threatening her, using her to control him. He'd promised to protect her, sworn he'd never let his world hurt her, and he'd already failed. Sebastian made a U-turn, tires hydroplaning on wet asphalt. He had to warn her. Had to make sure she was safe before he dealt with Marcus and Elena and whoever else was involved in this nightmare. But when he pulled up to the bookstore 15 minutes later, his blood ran cold. The front window was shattered. Rain poured through the opening. Books lay scattered and soaked across the sidewalk. And Celeste was gone. Sebastian burst through the shattered window, glass crunching under his shoes. Rain soaked the hardwood floors. Wind scattered pages from destroyed books like wounded birds. Celeste. His voice echoed through the empty store. Nothing. No response. No sign of struggle beyond the broken window and the chaos. His phone buzzed. "Looking for something?" Marcus' voice was smooth as oil. "Or someone?" "Where is she?" Sebastian's voice came out raw. "Animal. Safe, for now. Penthouse suite at the Bellevue Grand. You have 30 minutes to get here, or we start having real problems. Come alone. No police, no tricks. Just you and some very overdue conversations." The line went dead. Sebastian ran to his car, drove like a madman through flooded streets. Every red light felt like torture. Every minute that passed, another minute Celeste was with people who'd already proven they'd hurt her to get to him. He made it in 23 minutes. The penthouse elevator seemed to rise in slow motion. Sebastian's reflection stared back at him from polished brass. He looked like a man who'd aged a decade in a single night. Soaked, disheveled, eyes wild with something between rage and terror. The elevator doors opened. Elena Rodriguez stood in the center of a massive living room. Floor-to-ceiling windows showcased the Seattle skyline. Lightning forked across the sky behind her like she'd summoned it herself. She looked exactly as Sebastian remembered. Sharp dark eyes, black hair pulled back severe, red dress cut like a weapon. Once he'd thought he loved her. Now he saw her for what she'd always been. Ambitious, calculating, dangerous. "Hello, Sebastian." She smiled. You look terrible. Where is she? He didn't have patience for games. The little bookworm? Alina gestured toward the bedroom door. In there, unharmed. We're not monsters. Just terrorists. We prefer the term negotiators. Marcus stepped from the shadows near the bar. He held a glass of whiskey, looked completely at ease. Drink? You seem tense. You son of a... Sebastian lunged forward. 3 men in dark suits materialized from nowhere, hands on his arms, holding him back. Easy, Marcus said. Let's keep this civilized. We're all friends here. Friends don't kidnap innocent people. And friends don't build empires on lies while pretending to be heroes. Alina's voice cut like a scalpel. You really thought you could walk away from me, Sebastian? From us? From everything we built together? We didn't build anything. I ended our engagement because I found out you were embezzling from the company. Remember? Alina laughed. Embezzling? Is that what you call it? I call it taking what I earned. What I deserved after watching you play saint while your father's blood money funded every innovation, every patent, every success. I didn't know about my father's methods when I started the company. But you know now. Marcus set down his glass. And you've done nothing to make it right. Just kept building, kept profiting, kept pretending you're better than the rest of us. Sebastian felt the pieces clicking into place. This was never about Elena's demands. This is about you wanting revenge. For what? For being a junior partner? For not getting enough credit? For being your shadow? Marcus's calm mask cracked. 8 years watching you take all the glory while I did half the work. 8 years of Sebastian Montenegro, tech genius, while I was and his business partner Marcus Blackwood in every article. 8 years of people thinking I was lucky to work with you. So you decided to destroy me? No. Elena stepped closer. We decided to own you. To make you understand what it feels like to have everything you love used against you. The bedroom door opened. Celeste stepped out. She looked unharmed. Hair slightly mussed, sweater twisted, but her eyes were clear, focused, scanning the room with surprising calm. Sebastian. Relief flooded her voice. Are you okay? Me? They took you. They asked me to come. Celeste walked toward him, and the men holding Sebastian released their grip. Said you were in trouble, that you needed help, so I got in the car. Something in her tone made Sebastian's blood freeze. Celeste, what are you? I'm sorry, she whispered, and pulled a gun from behind her back, pointed it directly at his chest. Time stopped. The storm outside went silent. The room disappeared. All Sebastian could see was the woman he'd fallen for in a single night. The woman he'd promised to protect. The woman now holding a weapon on him with steady hands. I'm so sorry, Celeste said again. Tears spilled down her cheeks. But they have my grandmother. They said if I didn't help them, they'd kill her. I couldn't let that happen. I couldn't, smart girl, Elena purred. We did our homework, Sebastian. Found out about little Celeste Harper and her grandmother in the nursing home. Very expensive nursing home. The kind a struggling bookstore owner couldn't possibly afford without help. Sebastian's mind reeled. You've been paying for her care. For 3 years, Marcus confirmed. Anonymous benefactor. We made sure Celeste's grandmother got the best treatment money could buy. Made sure she had leverage when we needed it. You've been planning this for 3 years? We've been planning this since the day you humiliated Alina by ending your engagement. Since the day you promoted someone else over me. Since the day we realized you'd never see us as equals. Celeste's hand shook. The gun wavered. I didn't know, she said to Sebastian, voice breaking. I didn't know you were him until tonight. Didn't know any of this until they picked me up. They showed me photos of my grandmother, said they'd move her to a state facility where she'd die within months. I had to choose. You chose to protect her. Sebastian's voice was gentle despite the gun pointed at his heart. That's not betrayal, Celeste. That's love. Touching, Alina said. But we're not here for therapy. Here's how this works, Sebastian. You're going to sign over 60% of Montenegro Dynamics to us. You're going to go public tomorrow and announce you're stepping down due to health concerns. And you're going to disappear for a while. Take a vacation, get your head straight, and if I refuse? Marcus pulled out a tablet, turned it toward Sebastian. Files, documents, photos, evidence of every dirty deal his father had made. Every bribe, every threat, Every destroyed competitor. We release all of this. Your company tanks. Your reputation burns. And we make sure everyone knows you've been covering it up for years. You don't just lose the business, Sebastian. You lose everything, including your freedom. Some of these deals cross into criminal territory. Sebastian looked at the evidence, at Marcus and Alina's triumphant faces, at Celeste, still holding the gun but crying openly now. There's one more thing, Alina said softly, dangerously. If you don't sign, we start with her. She gestured to Celeste, the girl who helped us trap you. The girl whose bookstore got mysteriously vandalized tonight, who helped criminals extort a billionaire. She goes down with you, Sebastian, and her grandmother loses her care either way. The trap was perfect, brutal, designed to break him. Sebastian looked at Celeste, at the woman who'd been weaponized against him, who'd been given an impossible choice and made the only one she could. Put the gun down, he said gently. Sebastian, put it down, Celeste. You're not going to shoot me. But my grandmother will be taken care of. I promise you. No matter what happens here tonight, I will make sure she's safe. Celeste lowered the gun. Elena moved fast, took it from her hand. How noble, Elena said. But nobility doesn't change the situation. Sebastian turned to face his betrayers. You want 60% of my company? You want me to disappear? Fine, I'll do it. Marcus blinked, surprised. Just like that? Just like that. On one condition. You're not in a position to negotiate, Elena said. No, but you're not in a position to refuse. Sebastian pulled out his phone, held it up. I've been recording since I walked in. Every word, every threat, every admission of extortion, kidnapping, and conspiracy. It's already uploaded to a secure server with instructions to release it to law enforcement if I don't check in every 12 hours. The color drained from Marcus's face. You're bluffing, Elena said, but her voice wavered. Am I? Do you want to risk it? 'Cause here's my condition. You let Celeste walk out of here. You make sure her grandmother's care continues uninterrupted. And you never ever contact either of them again. Do that and I'll sign your papers. Refuse, and we all burn together. Silence filled the penthouse. Rain hammered the windows. Lightning illuminated four faces locked in a standoff where everyone had already lost something. Deal, Marcus finally said. She walks. The grandmother's care continues. We leave them both alone. I want it in writing, Sebastian said. A legal document, binding, before I sign anything of yours. Elena looked like she wanted to shoot him herself. But she nodded. 2 hours later, papers were signed. Lawyers who asked no questions notarized documents. Sebastian's empire was divided. His future was traded for Celeste's safety. As dawn broke over Seattle, the storm finally cleared. Sebastian and Celeste stood in the penthouse parking garage. Her bookstore keys hung from her hand. His Aston Martin waited in the shadows. I'm sorry, she said for the 100th time. Don't be. You protected someone you love. That's the most human thing anyone can do. I ruined your life. No. Sebastian touched her face gently, the same way he had hours before in her bookstore, when the world had been fire and hope and possibility. They did. You were just caught in the crossfire. What will you do now? Disappear for a while, like they demanded. Figure out who I am without the company, without the name, without the empire. He smiled sadly. Maybe I'll read some Neruda. Celeste's tears fell freely. I could come with you. You could. But you won't. Sebastian kissed her forehead. You have a degree to finish. A bookstore to rebuild. A grandmother to visit. A life that doesn't include my mess. Sebastian, this is me protecting you, like I promised, even if it breaks us both. He got in his car, started the engine, looked at her one last time through the rain-spattered window. Then he drove away, leaving behind the woman he loved and the life he'd built on lies. What Sebastian didn't see was Celeste pull out, her phone as his taillights disappeared. What he didn't see was the number she dialed. What he didn't hear was her voice, cold and clear and nothing like the gentle soul he'd fallen for. It's done. He signed everything. Transfer the money. And what he didn't know was that sometimes the greatest betrayal comes from the person you die to protect. 6 months later, Sebastian Montenegro lived in a cabin in the mountains of Oregon. No internet, no phone, No connection to the world that had chewed him up and spit him out. He chopped wood, read books, watched snow fall through pine trees, let his beard grow and his body remember what it felt like to be tired from physical labor instead of mental warfare. Montenegro Dynamics had crashed within 3 months of his departure. Marcus and Alina's greed made them reckless. They gutted the company for quick cash, sold off departments, fired key employees. The innovation died. The stock plummeted. Everything his father had built, everything Sebastian had tried to redeem, turned to ash. He told himself he didn't care. Told himself it was justice for all the blood money, all the destroyed lives, all the sins that came home to roost. He told himself he didn't think about Celeste Harper every single day. He was lying. The knock on his cabin door came on a Tuesday evening. Snow fell heavy and silent. No one knew where he lived. He'd made sure of that. Sebastian grabbed the fireplace poker. Approached the door carefully. "It's me." The voice was muffled through wood and wind. Female. Familiar. "Please let me in. I'm freezing." He opened the door. Celeste stood in the snow, thinner than he remembered, hair shorter, barely touching her shoulders, eyes haunted by things she'd seen. She wore a thick coat, jeans, hiking boots. A backpack hung from her shoulders. "How did you find me?" "Can I come in?" "I promise I'm not here to hurt you." "Not again." Sebastian stepped aside. She entered, bringing cold air and snow with her. He closed the door, locked it, stood with his back against the wood and his heart pounding. Celeste moved to the fire, held her hands toward the warmth. Didn't speak for a long minute. "Your beard suits you," she finally said. "Why are you here, Celeste?" She turned to face him. "To tell you the truth. The real truth. All of it. I know the truth. You were part of it from the beginning. You helped them destroy me? Yes. No denial. No excuses. I did." Sebastian felt something crack in his chest. Part of him had held on to hope. Some small, stupid part that believed she'd been forced, manipulated, genuine in her tears that night. "They recruited me a year ago," Celeste continued. "Marcus found me first. Said there was a man who needed saving from himself, a good man trapped in a bad legacy. Said if I helped them, they'd pay off my grandmother's medical bills and give me enough money to save the bookstore. So you played me. I seduced you, became exactly what you needed, pure and innocent and safe." Her voice was flat, clinical. "The bookstore was real. My grandmother was real. But everything else was a performance. Even this." She pulled the silver locket from inside her coat, opened it. Inside was a tiny microphone. "I recorded everything you said that night. Every confession, every vulnerability. Handed it all to them." Sebastian slid down the door until he was sitting on the floor. All the air had left the room. "When you drove away that morning," Celeste said, "I made a call. Confirmed the job was done. They transferred $2 million to an offshore account in my name. I was rich. The bookstore was saved. My grandmother had care for life. Why are you telling me this? Because 3 months ago, I visited my grandmother." Celeste's voice cracked. Told her what I'd done. Told her I'd betrayed a good man for money. Told her I'd sold my soul. She sat down across from him, tears streaming down her face now. She looked at me with these eyes, these disappointed, heartbroken eyes, and she said, "I'd rather die in a state hospital than know my granddaughter became the kind of person who destroys others for profit." Then she refused to see me again. Celeste. She died 2 weeks ago. Heart attack. And her last words to the nurse were, "Tell Celeste I forgive her, but she has to forgive herself by making it right." Silence filled the cabin. The fire crackled. Snow fell outside like the world was being erased. "I went to Marcus and Alina after the funeral," Celeste continued. "Told them I was done. Wanted out. They laughed. Said I was in too deep. Said they'd release evidence that I was part of the conspiracy, that I'd go to prison alongside them if everything came out. So you ran. No. I fought." Celeste reached into her coat, pulled out a flash drive. "I spent 3 months gathering evidence. Every email, every transaction, every conversation I recorded. Not just you, Sebastian. Everything. I documented their entire operation. The other people they'd targeted. The companies they'd destroyed. The lives they'd ruined." She held out the drive. "It's all here. Enough to put them away for 20 years. Enough to prove you were a victim, not a co-conspirator. Enough to clear your name. Sebastian stared at the small device. Why? Because my grandmother was right. I became a monster. And the only way to stop being one is to destroy the other monsters I helped create. Celeste's voice broke completely. I can't bring back what they took from you. Can't undo what I did, but I can give you a chance to reclaim your life. At what cost to you? I'm on that drive too. Every recording I made, every payment I received, every lie I told. When you give this to the FBI, I go down with them. Sebastian looked at this woman who'd shattered him, who'd played him perfectly, who now sat offering her own destruction as penance. There's another way, he said slowly. No, there isn't. I deserve whatever punishment. What if I don't want revenge? Sebastian interrupted. What if I want something else? Celeste looked at him, confusion and hope warring in her eyes. What could you possibly want from me after everything I've done? Sebastian stood, walked to his desk, pulled out a laptop he'd been using for writing, opened it, typed for several minutes while Celeste watched. He turned the screen toward her. It was a legal document. A confession, detailing every illegal thing his father had done, every bribe, every threat, every destroyed life that built Montenegro Dynamics. It was signed and dated from 6 months ago. I wrote this the day I got here, Sebastian said. I've been waiting to send it, waiting to find the courage to destroy my father's legacy completely, but I couldn't. Because as much as I hated what he'd done, he was still my father. I was still protecting him. Sebastian, you were right to con me. Maybe not for money, but someone needed to take down the Montenegro Empire. It was built on blood. It needed to end. He took the flash drive from her hand. Here's what we're going to do. We combine your evidence with mine. We give it all to the FBI, every crime, every corruption, every dirty secret. That'll destroy you too. I know, but it's the only way to be free. Really free. Not hiding in a cabin, not running from my name, but actually making amends for what my family did. Celeste shook her head. You'd sacrifice yourself? After everything I did to you? Not sacrifice, redemption for both of us. Sebastian sat beside her on the floor. I spent 6 months hating you, then hating myself for still loving you despite the betrayal. But maybe we're both just broken people who got caught in a machine bigger than ourselves. I don't deserve your forgiveness. Probably not. But I don't deserve yours either. I inherited blood money and used it to build an empire. Told myself I was different from my father while profiting from his sins. We're both guilty, Celeste. We both have to answer for what we've done. She looked at him with eyes that held the same pain he felt. If we do this, we both go to prison. Maybe, probably, but we go down fighting. We take down Marcus and Alina. We expose the whole rotten system. And maybe, somewhere in all that destruction, we find a way to be human again. Celeste reached out slowly, touched his bearded face with trembling fingers. I did fall for you that night, in the bookstore. That part wasn't fake. The way I felt when you looked at me, the way my heart broke when you walked away, that was real. I know. How? Because I'm a billionaire who got conned by a literature student. If you were really that good an actress, you would have asked for more than $2 million. Sebastian smiled sadly. You took enough to save what you loved. Not enough to be greedy. That told me everything I needed to know about who you really are. Celeste laughed through her tears. You're either the most forgiving man alive or the biggest fool. Both. Probably both. They sat in silence while the fire burned low. Two broken people who'd destroyed each other. Two souls who'd somehow found their way back to a cabin in the mountains where the world couldn't reach them. There's something else on the drive, Celeste finally said. Something I need to tell you before we do this. Sebastian felt his stomach drop. What? Marcus and Alina, they're planning something. One final con. They're going after someone new. Another tech CEO, another good person they're going to destroy. Who? I don't know yet, but I know when. 3 days from now, there's a tech conference in San Francisco. They're going to be there, and so is their next target. Sebastian stood, started pacing. Then we have 3 days to stop them. Sebastian, if we go after them directly, they'll destroy us first. Release everything they have, ruin any chance we have of making this right. Then what do you suggest? Celeste's eyes hardened. The soft bookstore owner was gone. In her place was someone who'd spent 3 months learning to be a predator. We beat them at their own game. We con the con artists, make them think we're coming back for revenge, when really we're leading them into a trap. How? We give them what they want. Me as the repentant accomplice. You as the broken billionaire who wants his empire back. We make them believe we'll help them with their next target. Get close enough to gather evidence. Then we burn them from the inside. Sebastian looked at this woman who'd betrayed him, who'd traveled across state lines to confess, who was now proposing they walk back into hell together. This is insane. Completely. If we fail, we lose everything. If we succeed, we still probably go to prison. I know. And you want to do this anyway? Celeste stood, walked to where he paced, looked up at him with eyes that had seen the worst of humanity and chosen to fight anyway. My grandmother always said the best stories are about redemption, about people who fall and find the strength to rise again. I want our story to be one of those, even if it ends badly, even if we don't get a happy ending. I want it to mean something. Sebastian thought about the man he'd been 6 months ago, wealthy, successful, hollow. Then thought about the man he'd become in this cabin. Isolated, safe, empty, neither version was worth living. Okay, he said. We do this, together, but on one condition. What? If we survive this, if we somehow make it through without prison or death or total destruction, you let me take you on a real date. Not a con, not a manipulation, just two people who've been to hell and back trying to see if there's anything left worth saving. Celeste smiled. A real smile. The first genuine one he'd seen since she walked through his door. Deal. They shook hands like business partners sealing a contract. But their fingers lingered, and in that touch was everything they'd lost and everything they might still find. 3 days until San Francisco. 3 days until they faced the people who'd destroyed them. 3 days until they either found redemption or burned trying. Sebastian looked at Celeste in the firelight. I need you to know something before we do this. Whatever happens in San Francisco, whatever we have to do or say or become to pull this off, the promise I made you that first night still stands. What promise? I will never let anyone hurt you, including myself. If things go wrong, if there's a choice between your safety and the mission, I choose you. Every time. Celeste's eyes filled with tears. You can't promise that. I just did. She stepped closer. So close he could feel the warmth of her breath. Then I promise you the same thing. We protect each other, no matter what, even if it costs us everything. They sealed their pact not with a kiss, but with foreheads pressed together. 2 warriors preparing for battle, 2 sinners seeking salvation. Outside, the snow continued to fall, covering the world in white, erasing footprints and evidence and the past. Inside the cabin, 2 people who'd destroyed each other began planning how to save themselves. The game was about to begin again, but this time, they were playing for keeps. The San Francisco Tech Conference buzzed with energy. Hundreds of developers, investors, and entrepreneurs packed the convention center. Sebastian and Celeste moved through the crowd like ghosts haunting their former lives. Sebastian had shaved, wore an expensive suit again, looked every inch the billionaire he'd once been. Celeste had transformed too. Designer dress, hairstyled, makeup perfect. She looked like money and power and everything Marcus and Elena would expect from someone who'd tasted wealth and wanted more. They're on the 3rd floor, Celeste whispered, checking her phone. Private suite, probably setting up the trap for their next target. Who is it? Rebecca Chen, founder of Quantum Solutions. 28 years old, brilliant, idealistic, exactly their type. Sebastian's jaw tightened. Another innocent person about to be destroyed. Another life about to be weaponized for profit. Not this time, he said. They took the elevator up. The FBI would be listening through the wires Celeste wore, recording every word, building their case. But first they had to get Marcus and Elena to confess. Had to make them feel safe enough to brag about their crimes. Sebastian knocked on the suite door. Marcus opened it. His face went through shock, suspicion, then calculating interest in rapid succession. Sebastian. This is unexpected. Can we come in? We have a proposition. Marcus stepped aside. Elena stood by the window, glass of champagne in hand. She looked at Celeste with cold assessment. The little traitor. Come to beg forgiveness. Come to offer services, Celeste replied, voice steady. Turns out conscience doesn't pay bills. And Sebastian's cabin got boring after about a week. Sebastian moved to the bar, poured himself a drink, played the part of a man who'd made peace with his demons. I heard you crashed my company, he said conversationally. Impressive. Took you 3 months to destroy what took me 10 years to build. You're not upset? Marcus asked carefully. Why would I be? You did me a favor. That company was an anchor, a reminder of everything my father built on blood and lies. Now it's gone. And I'm free, Elena laughed. Free? You're broke, hiding in the mountains like a hermit. That's not freedom. Neither is being chained to success. Sebastian took a sip of whiskey. But I didn't come here for philosophy. I came to make a deal. We're listening. Rebecca Chen. I know her. Met her at a conference 2 years ago. She trusts me. If you want access to her company, her investors, her secrets, you'll need someone she respects to make the introduction. Marcus and Elena exchanged glances. Sebastian could see the hunger in their eyes. The addiction to the game. What do you want in return? Marcus asked. 10% of whatever you make. And a clean slate. No more threats. No more evidence hanging over my head. We work together, then we never see each other again. And her? Elena gestured to Celeste. What's her role? Rebecca is suspicious of men in the tech world. Has every right to be, but she might open up to another woman. Someone who understands what it's like to be underestimated. Someone like Celeste. Celeste stepped forward. I've learned from the best. From both of you. And I'm tired of being poor and powerless. If we're going to be monsters, we might as well be rich monsters. The words tasted like poison in her mouth. But she said them with conviction. With the cold ambition Marcus and Elena would believe. How do we know this isn't a trap? Elena asked. How do we know you haven't gone to the police? Sebastian pulled out his phone. Showed them a video. It was him, in the cabin, burning documents. The confession he'd written about his father. His insurance policy going up in flames. I destroyed the only evidence that could bring you down. Because I realized something. You were right. I was a hypocrite. Profiting from my father's crimes while judging you for yours. If I'm going to survive in this world, I need to accept what I am. What we all are. It was a lie. The real evidence was safe with the FBI, but the performance was flawless. Marcus smiled slowly. You've changed. 6 months alone gives you time to think. Time to realize that morality is a luxury for people who can afford it. And what about love? Elena looked between Sebastian and Celeste. You two looked pretty cozy that night in the bookstore, before everything fell apart. Love is another luxury, Sebastian said coldly, meeting Celeste's eyes with practiced indifference. Celeste and I have an arrangement. We're useful to each other. That's enough. The words were designed to sell the con. But Sebastian saw the flash of pain in Celeste's eyes. Saw how the lie landed like a blow even though she knew it was fake. All right, Marcus finally said. You're in, but we're watching you. One wrong move, and everything we have on both of you goes public. You'll spend the rest of your lives in prison. Understood, Sebastian said. They spent the next hour planning how to approach Rebecca Chen, what vulnerabilities to exploit, what lies to tell. Sebastian and Celeste played their parts perfectly. Cold, calculating, hungry for revenge and money, and the FBI recorded every word Marcus and Elena said about their previous cons. Every name they dropped. Every crime they confessed to while bragging about their brilliance. Finally, Marcus stood. Rebecca's giving a keynote speech in an hour. Sebastian, you'll make contact after. Celeste, you'll follow up tomorrow. Casual meeting, coffee, build trust. And if she doesn't bite? Celeste asked. She will. Everyone bites eventually. You just have to find the right bait. Sebastian and Celeste left the suite. Took the elevator down in silence. The FBI would be moving in soon. Arresting Marcus and Elena, seizing their evidence. But first, Sebastian had to warn Rebecca Chen. Had to make sure she didn't become another victim. They found her backstage, reviewing notes for her speech. She looked up as Sebastian approached, recognition sparking in her eyes. Sebastian Montenegro, I heard you disappeared. I did, for a while. But I'm back. And I need to talk to you about Marcus Blackwood and Elena Rodriguez. They're planning to target you. To destroy your company the way they destroyed mine. Rebecca's expression shifted from friendly to guarded. Why should I trust you? Because I brought proof. Sebastian handed her a tablet. Everything they've done. Everyone they've hurt. And I'm about to make sure they can never hurt anyone again. He turned to Celeste. It's time. Celeste pulled out her phone. Sent a single text to her FBI contact. Now. 30 seconds later, agents flooded the 3rd floor. Shouts. Commotion. The sound of Marcus and Alina being read their rights. Sebastian and Celeste stood in the hallway while chaos erupted above. Them. It's done, she whispered. Not yet. Sebastian pulled out the flash drive Celeste had given him. The one with all the evidence, including his own crimes, his father's crimes, everything. He handed it to the lead FBI agent who approached them. This is everything. Every illegal deal my father made. Every law I broke trying to cover it up. Every crime committed by Marcus Blackwood and Elena Rodriguez. And everything Celeste Harper did while working for them. The agent looked at them with something like respect. You know this means you're both facing charges. We know, Celeste said. We're ready. For what it's worth, the agent said. Cooperation goes a long way. You'll probably avoid prison time, community service, probation. The fact that you brought us everyone else will count for something. Sebastian felt a weight lift he hadn't known he was carrying. Thank you. The agent took the evidence and left. Marcus and Alina were led past in handcuffs. Alina screamed threats. Marcus looked broken. Neither of them looked at Sebastian or Celeste. Rebecca Chen approached slowly. You just destroyed your own life to save mine. Not destroyed, Sebastian said. Redeemed. She studied him for a long moment. I'm going to need a new head of security. Someone who understands how predators think. Someone who's been through hell and came out the other side. Interested? Sebastian blinked. You're offering me a job? Offering you a second chance. If you want it. He looked at Celeste. She smiled. I want it, he said. Rebecca nodded. Good. We'll talk details after you handle whatever legal trouble you're facing. My lawyer's excellent. I'll make sure you have representation. She walked away, leaving Sebastian and Celeste standing in the emptying convention center. A second chance, Celeste said softly. Who would have thought? What will you do? Sebastian asked. After the trial. After everything, rebuild my bookstore, finish my degree, visit my grandmother's grave and tell her I made it right. She looked at him. And maybe take that date you promised. If the offer's still good, it's good. It'll always be good. They walked out of the convention center into San Francisco sunlight. Behind them, their past was being processed, documented, and put away. Ahead of them, an uncertain future waited. I need to tell you something, Celeste said as they stood on the sidewalk. What you said in that suite, about love being a luxury, about us just being useful to each other. I know it was part of the act, but it still hurt. I know. I'm sorry. Don't be. It hurt because it almost felt true, like maybe that's all we could ever be. Two damaged people using each other to survive. Sebastian took her hand, right there on a busy San Francisco street with strangers passing by and their whole world in pieces. You're wrong, he said. That night in your bookstore. Before I knew who you really were, before you knew what I'd become. For those few hours, we were just two people connecting. No agenda, no manipulation. That was real. How can you be sure? Because I've spent 6 months trying to hate you. Trying to convince myself you were just another predator. But I couldn't. Because underneath all the lies and all the pain, I saw who you really are. Someone who chose family over money. Someone who risked everything to make amends. Someone worth fighting for. Celeste's eyes filled with tears. I don't deserve you. Good thing I don't deserve you either. We can be undeserving together. She laughed through her tears, squeezed his hand. So what now? Now we face the consequences. We do our time. We rebuild our lives. And when the dust settles, we see if there's anything left between us worth saving. And if there is, Sebastian pulled her close, kissed her forehead the way he had that first night. Gentle, reverent, full of promises he intended to keep. Then we write a better ending. One where two broken people find a way to be whole, where love isn't a luxury or a weapon, where it's just what it should be, two souls choosing each other, every day, despite everything. Celeste looked up at him. That sounds like a story worth telling. It sounds like a story worth living. They stood there as the sun set over San Francisco. Two sinners who'd found their way to grace, two warriors who'd laid down their arms, two people who'd betrayed each other and somehow found their way back. The road ahead wouldn't be easy. There would be trials, lawyers, judgments, consequences. There would be people who'd never forgive them. Scars that would never fully heal, but they'd face it together. Not as con artists or victims, Not as billionaire and bookstore owner, but as Sebastian and Celeste, two people who'd been given a second chance and were brave enough to take it. 6 months later, Sebastian stood in a rebuilt bookstore. New windows replaced the shattered ones. New books lined the shelves. But the soul of Harper's Haven remained. The fireplace still crackled. The reading nook still welcomed the weary. The scent of aged paper still promised escape and adventure. Celeste emerged from the back room, carrying a stack of first editions. She wore jeans and a sweater. Her hair was longer again. The silver locket hung at her throat, but her eyes were different, lighter, free. "Customer waiting for you," she said. Section 3. Poetry. Sebastian walked through the store he'd helped rebuild, past shelves he'd assembled, past a wall where they'd hung a photo of Celeste's grandmother, smiling, proud, forgiven. In the poetry section, a young woman stood browsing. She looked up as he approached. "Can I help you find something?" he asked. "I'm looking for Neruda. Someone told me his words about love could make stone hearts weep." Sebastian smiled, pulled down the slim volume, the same one Celeste had given him that first night. "This is the one. Fair warning, though, it's dangerous. Changed my entire life." The woman took the book, laughed. "Good, I need a change." She bought the book and left. Sebastian returned to where Celeste sat by the fire, grading papers from her students. She'd finished her degree, started teaching, built the life she'd always wanted. He'd kept his job with Rebecca Chen, spent his days protecting good people from predators, spent his nights here, in this sanctuary, with the woman who'd destroyed him and saved him. "Marcus got 15 years, Celeste said, without looking up from her papers. "Elena got 12. Saw it on the news. Good. Do you ever regret it? Turning them in. Destroying everything." Sebastian sat beside her. "Every day. And never. Both at once." She looked at him then. "Me too." They sat in comfortable silence. The fire crackled. Rain started outside. Thunder rolled across the Seattle sky. "Storm's coming," Celeste observed. Sebastian remembered another storm. Another night. When his car had broken down and led him to this place. To her, to everything that followed. "Yeah," he said. "But we've weathered worse." Celeste set down her papers, curled into his side, fit perfectly like she'd been made for that exact space. "Tell me something true," she whispered. "The game they played, the way they rebuilt trust, one truth at a time." "I love you," Sebastian said. "Not despite what you did. Not even because you made it right. But because you're you, flawed and fierce and fighting to be better. That's who I fell for. That's who I choose. Tell me something else true. I'm terrified this won't last. That one day you'll wake up and realize you settled for a man with too much baggage and not enough redemption." Celeste looked up at him. "You want truth? Here it is. I'm terrified too. But I choose you anyway. Choose us. Choose this life we're building from the ruins of who we used to be." She kissed him then, soft and sure, a promise sealed with touch instead of words. Outside, the storm raged. Thunder shook the windows. Rain hammered the roof. Inside Harper's Haven, two people who'd been through hell held each other close. They weren't perfect. Their love wasn't storybook clean. Their ending wasn't tied up with a neat bow, but it was real, hard-won, earned through fire and sacrifice and the daily choice to show up, to try, to believe in second chances even when the world said they didn't deserve them. "We made it," Celeste whispered against his chest. "We made it," Sebastian agreed. And in that moment, in a small bookstore in Seattle while the storm raged outside, two souls who'd betrayed each other found the only redemption that mattered. Not perfection. Not absolution. But grace. The unearned, undeserved, beautiful grace of being known completely and loved anyway. The fire crackled. The rain fell. And two broken people held each other in the darkness, their scars pressed together, their hearts beating in sync. Their story far from over, but finally heading somewhere worth going. The end.